Hello and good morning to our listeners from around the world. I want to welcome you to another edition of This Morning with Soulivity, broadcasting live from our studio right here in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, as well as on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Westley Johnson, and I am so glad that you've joined us today. I'm joined by my very special friend and co-host, Sheila Applegate. Hey, Sheila.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you doing today?
I'm actually doing pretty well,
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, things are like going pretty smooth, though there's a lot of things happening in the world. I'm just kind of I'm kind of happy.
Isn't that awesome to be able to find that happiness even when there's chaos around you?
Absolutely. What about you?
I'd say I'm in the same place, feeling lots of waves of energy going on these days. And there's a part of me that's excited because I feel like we're moving in it, even though it looks chaotic, we're moving in a good direction as a world.
Absolutely. Listen, we've got a very special guest coming up in just a second. But before we get started, I want to remind our listeners that listen, you are part of this conversation. We love your thoughts, your comments, your questions. Please just post those directly to our chat here on either YouTube or Facebook, and we will do a shout out to you, get your comments right in on our live feed. So why don't we go ahead and get this party started this morning, and I'm going to introduce one of our very special new Soulivity friends. Her name is Kassandra Reinhardt, and the Ottawa-based Ying Vinyasa yoga instructor, YouTuber, author, and the face behind Yoga with Kassandra is on a mission to help people of all ages feel great with yoga. As one of the first yoga instructors to embrace online teaching, her Yoga with Kassandra YouTube channel has grown to more than 2 million subscribers and has over 190 million views. With her online community, Kassandra has truly provided global accessibility to yoga. And by allowing her expertise to be one free click away, she's breaking down the financial barriers of expensive classes, the location barriers of needing to commute to a physical studio, and removing the intimidation factors some students may feel in front of others. So, with that, it is my esteemed pleasure to welcome to This Morning with Soulivity, Kassandra Reinhardt. Hey, Kassandra.
Hi, thank you so much for that lovely introduction.
Well, it is my pleasure, darling. Listen, we did a feature on you a few months ago, and we've been trying to get you back on this morning to talk a little bit more in depth with you as well. I love that you've had this arc and this journey that kind of shows people that listen, our lives go through different changes, and that sometimes what you think may be your passion may lead you to what your lifelong passion and purpose is. Can you talk a little bit about how in the beginning dance was your first love, and then that led you to yoga? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. I certainly never imagined that this would be the career that I would end up having. I really was only introduced to yoga when I was around 18 or 19. And even then, it wasn't necessarily love at first sight. It's not like I tried my first yoga class and all of a sudden had this huge vision of what I wanted my life and my role as a teacher to be. That really came later. I grew up dancing a lot, doing ballet. That was really my main passion and goal in life. Unfortunately, I always knew I wasn't really a strong enough dancer to be able to do this professionally or anything like that. But I still absolutely loved it. And the only reason I started doing yoga in the beginning at around 18 or 19 was as a form of cross training for dance. Even though I was dancing a lot, I've always had issues with my hamstrings specifically. They would get injured frequently. I had a hard time improving my flexibility. So someone just recommended, hey, go try a yoga class. Maybe that'll help you. So that was really my only intention the first time I went to a studio yoga class. I didn't know much about it. I didn't know about the philosophical and historical and spiritual context of yoga. I just thought, do yoga, get more flexible, it was that simple. So thankfully, I gave yoga a try and I stuck with it, even though it wasn't this huge passion from the get-go. But over time, it did grow on me. And then here I am, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years later, whatever that math is. And this is what I do now.
Wow. What about you, Sheila? Do you have a question?
Yeah. First of all, I do love the journey that you took towards yoga and your expression of it. Just saying, it doesn't, as people come to it, they may not fall in love with it right away, but give it a try and maybe it'll become your passion. So I love that. Can you talk about yin yoga as opposed to other techniques?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is really common to not necessarily fall in love with it. And I think yin is particularly the best example for that. It's a very common scenario for people to try yin and really dislike it. And that was actually
Mm.
my experience with it, because yin is quite different from other styles that people might be more familiar of. Maybe if people have not tried yoga before and they just imagine yoga, there's probably some kind of movement that they're picturing, maybe sun salutations. Yin is completely different. So, yin is a passive style of yoga where we hold these passive poses, meaning we're not using any strength. Most of the poses we're either lying down or just sitting, but we're holding these poses for minutes at a time, usually 3 to 5 minutes. So, it's a long time to be in a stretch, and you're meant to try to relax your body as much as possible and to let gravity do the work for you. It's a phenomenal practice for the deep connective tissues, the fascia of your body, the joints, the tendons, the ligaments. These are parts of your body that respond best to long held tension. But it can be very challenging. It's challenging to not move for a few minutes at a time. And it really, for me, it was a big mental challenge as well. I'm someone who is very mentally busy and mentally active, a lot
Right.
of thoughts going
Mhm.
on. And with other styles of classical yoga that I was more familiar with and had been practicing, like vinyasa, for example, it was easy for me to be distracted while I practiced and to just kind of go through the motion without really being fully present. Whereas with yin, there's kind of nowhere else to go. You're marinating in this pose for so long. You kind of have to be with yourself, and there's a lot of growth that comes from that. So even though I didn't love it at first, that's also the practice that became the most transformational for me, and I stuck with it. And I quickly understood that not only is this what's going to give me the flexibility I've been searching for and help to heal my body in a lot of ways, because it's tackling my joints and really working on fascia, but mentally this was also really what I needed in terms of dealing and coping with stress and anxiety. So it's a really phenomenal practice.
Now
Oh, that's amazing.
I was thinking about when we were talking in the feature about some of the challenges you had to overcome when you first started, right? Because we know
Mhm.
that life is never a straight line, and there's some twists and turns that come along when you are first starting out. Can you talk a little bit about like some of the challenges that you had?
Oh, sure. I mean, there's probably a million.
Right.
It's it was hard. I mean, one of the biggest challenges is that I started my YouTube channel in 2014, and the world of content creation was not what it is today.
Right.
So the idea of trying to figure out how to start a YouTube channel, there just weren't as many online resources that tell you how to do that. Now I can just go on Google and say how to start a YouTube channel, and I can find dozens of podcasts and YouTube videos and blog posts and manuals and books, that will tell you step by step what you need to do to grow a viewership and all of that, even just the technical aspect of filming and editing and marketing and building a website and social media management. But in 2014, those resources were a lot more limited. So I was going at it quite blind. I didn't totally know what I was doing. I was just stumbling and fumbling my way through it. So that was definitely a big challenge. Another huge challenge was that I was trying to do this on my own part-time in whatever time I had, right? I was a full-time employee with the municipal government, with the city of Ottawa. So it's not like I had all the time in the world to figure out social media marketing, building a website, creating a mailing list. How do cameras work? How does
Right.
editing
Right.
software work? So that was hard. That was hard. The figuring it out on your own and fumbling and having limited time and limited resources. It's not even, I was like 23. I had no money. It's not like I could hire people, to do it for me either. So that was the big challenges, I think, early on for sure.
And this was like when YouTube was like in its infancy to a certain degree. I mean, people were using it for like pre-recorded stuff, but like streaming, I mean,
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of streaming, definitely.
no.
I mean, it's not like I was the first yoga teacher on YouTube. There were, Yoga with Adrian was around, but
Right.
there were a few big channels that were around. But even then, it's like, if you look 9 years ago, it was just such a different
Right.
world. It was
Absolutely.
a completely different landscape at that time. But yeah, I'm glad I started when I did. I'm glad I still went through all those hurdles and pushed through, and eventually found my way out and figured it out somewhat.
Well, listen, we are so glad that you did. Listen, we're going to continue this conversation, and when we come back, I want to ask you about, do you consider yoga to be your calling in terms of like, the things that you've gone through in your life? So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more with Kassandra Reinhardt and Yoga with Kassandra. We'll be right back, everybody. Hey there, this is Brian with Soulivity.com. I want to share some exciting news about our new Aspire Academy by Soulivity. Now, you probably want to know what the Aspire Academy by Soulivity is. Well, it exclusively connects you with people around the globe and who share the intense desire to improve themselves and create a better life for themselves today. There's classes, there's workshops, there's live events, and even more exclusively just for you. You see, I wanted you to have a safe space where you could grow, you can learn, and it would empower you in all aspects of your life, including your mind, your body, and your soul. So how do you get started? Well, it is so easy. First of all, the best part, joining Aspire Academy is absolutely free. Just click on the Join Now button, sign up, and begin your journey. As a special part of this invitation to you, there are some free courses that are available for you to try from our amazing roster of coaches and collaborators. It's our way of saying thank you for all of your support and being with us along our journey of expansion. I hope you enjoyed the Aspire Academy by Soulivity today. Start the process. Learn more about your passion, your purpose, and how to live a higher quality life. And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. I'm joined by my beautiful co-host, Sheila Applegate, and our very, very special guest today, Kassandra Reinhardt, founder of Yoga with Kassandra. Kassandra, during our interview, I love the fact that you were talking about the fact that you created this gateway for literally thousands of people to discover like yin yoga. What does that feel for you at this point? I mean, you started 9 years ago. Do you really feel like this has been a calling for you?
Yes, it's I don't know, that's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, yeah.
There's so much to it. I mean, on one hand, absolutely, the response has been overwhelming, much bigger than anything I could have ever anticipated or
Mhm,
even imagined. And
mhm.
I found a lot of purpose through that and a lot of um, fulfillment. It feels really good. It feels really good to believe and think that I've played some kind of role in people's well-being through doing something that I love, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
That feels really good. There's no denying that. And also when it comes to things like my calling and my purpose, I feel like that's so big,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
It's such a
Yeah.
huge concept. I don't know. I feel like I have more still also maybe to offer and more to give that I'm not really sure. Um, like I'm not done yet, you know? I think at this point, like I feel like I'm only just getting started, and I'm happy that this has been working and that I have been able to fulfill part of what I feel like is my purpose and my calling. But I don't know that I necessarily feel that it's strictly through yoga. I feel like when it comes to calling and purpose, it's really through kind of like inspiring and empowering people to grow in a way
Mhm,
and take
mhm.
care of themselves. And yoga just happens to be one of the vehicles I've been able to do that, you know?
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
always changing and evolving. It's such a big concept, you know?
Right,
Purpose and
right.
calling. Whew, it's a big one.
I love that. Now, do you feel like when I look at your YouTube channel, there's such a welcoming feeling to it, and you do have more than just the videos of yoga available. So, are you already starting to evolve into some of the other areas that you are wanting to include?
Yeah, a little bit. So right now, I'm running this 30-day challenge, which I do often. It's my third year doing it, and I usually run them in April. And in the past, it's just been a very straightforward 30-day challenge where you do 10 to 15 minutes of yoga every day. And that's been very successful. And I love doing that. I love showing people that yoga doesn't have to be super long, super strenuous. It doesn't have to be 90 minutes long in order to be effective and worthwhile. 10 to 15 minutes can really change your life. So I did that for 2 years, and I thought I really wanted to do something new this third year. And I wanted to, again, show something different and introduce something different. So for the one that I'm doing now, it's called Flexible Body, Flexible Mind.
Mm.
So rather than only
Mm.
having one video a day of a yoga class, I'm doing two a day. The first one being, yes, let's do a 10-minute morning yoga practice for a flexible body. But then I'm also doing a daily flexible mind challenge, take people out of their comfort zones and to really work on personal development. So every day has a different theme, and the challenges can be anything from journaling exercise about what you're grateful for, things that you're ready to
Mm.
release. Some of them is to, scream at the top of your lungs, or, today's challenge is to purge, clutter from your house. Like simple things that still kind of push you a little bit. And that's been a really nice way for me to start introducing other things that I'm really passionate about, like other lifestyle practices that have really helped me and that have really helped me grow as a person and made the biggest changes in my life. So that's what I've been doing. And I'm kind of playing around with the idea of launching some kind of podcast later this year, like a Life with Kassandra instead of a Yoga with Kassandra. So we'll see. We'll see. But I am starting to introduce that a little bit more.
I love it. That's
I
awesome.
love the fact that you have this holistic kind of view to what you're doing, and that and it kind of relates to my first question earlier, which is like that I think that our calling is just to live whatever in the moments of our lives where we're led to do something, and that here you are expanding this awareness that you came into years ago, and that you're now moving into other parts to create this holistic kind of program. So thank you for that. Thank you for doing this work.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you. I mean, I'm not the kind of person who can do a 5-year plan. You know, like some people are like
right,
they
right,
really
right.
see their lives 5 years out, 10 years out. They know where they want to go. And I cannot for the life of me do that. Like I pivot a lot, I change a lot. I can do a 1 year. I usually do that for a year, you know, goal setting, intentions, dreaming for the next 12 months. But that's pretty much as far into the future as I'm willing to plan.
Right, right.
Because I genuinely just don't know if I'll want to completely uproot and start from scratch. You know, it might happen.
Well, that makes sense to me. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense.
All the more reason for people to go to your channel now.
Right, right.
Don't worry, I'm not going away. I'm not
Hurry up.
I'm not going
Oh man,
I'll be there.
I'm just loving this. I really, really am. I mean, Kassandra, you kind of embody what we try to tell people about, listen, life is meant to be good, right? And that part of that goodness is following your heart toward creating the dream, actually actualizing your dreams into reality. And so, what are some of the benefits? Like if somebody has never done yoga before and they're trying, or coming into one of your programs, what do you say about like starting this kind of journey right with them? What are like, do you talk about benefits? Do you talk about like yourself? And what it's done for you? I mean, what's your quote unquote kind of pitch?
You know, I find that what tends to hook people the most in general, I find you have to start with the physical benefits. Yoga is phenomenal
Mm,
physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I can talk about all of those, but I find that usually there's probably some kind of something physical that people are looking for support with.
mhm.
So whether they feel like they have a lot of headaches, or whether they feel like they wake up with a lot of back pain, or it's getting harder and harder for them to kind of like sit down and get back up, like bend over to tie their shoelaces. Like these are fairly simple things, but
Mhm.
as we get older, mobility is extremely important. I'm a
Uh-huh.
big fan of really stressing the importance of that, of continuing to move and use your body. I'm a big believer in this philosophy when it comes to the body and aging. Like if you don't use it, you will lose it. It's
Yeah,
important
yeah.
to, keep doing these things. That's a huge, I would say, to me, that's the most important one. If I could get people to understand that yoga is a practice that will support you for decades to come, and you can start no matter where you are in life. It's not something that you should have started in your 20s. If you're listening to this in your 50s, 60s, 70s, you can start right away, right now. There are styles of yoga and methods of approaching the practice that can be accessible for anyone. You can do it in your chair. You don't even need to be fully mobile to be
Wow.
able to benefit from the practice. So to me, that's the biggest one, is like even though I say I'm not someone who plans, career wise and things like that for the next 5 years, I am someone who really thinks about my eldest self. I really do try to think about how am I going to want to feel as, I'm in my 30s now, but what's my 40s, 50s, 60s, and hopefully well beyond.
Yeah.
How do I want to
Mhm.
feel? What is that going to look like? And how can I best support my body so that I'm mentally sharp, but also physically able and independent and mobile, and so yoga is a big, 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 big motivator for me in that way. And then also, I think a lot of people, stress and anxiety is something maybe that they're quite familiar with. That was a big one for me when I first started.
Mhm.
I still do um, struggle with anxiety, but yoga is a phenomenal tool. I'm really grateful that I've been able to learn more about how to use yoga to manage
Mhm.
anxiety and stress, even trouble sleeping, which is something that I've had a lot growing up. Um, that those are the main ones for me for sure.
Oh, man. Well, listen, you're gonna get me starting up a yoga practice here.
Good.
Uh, listen, we're gonna talk more with Cassandra after this next break. Loving the conversation. Thank you for listening in, everybody, and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity with our very, very special guest, Kassandra Reinhardt of Yoga with Cassandra. Sheila, did you have a question?
Yeah. So, you do speak a lot about the physical benefits. And I think yoga has become so much more popular in the Western world over the last couple decades. And it seems like there's kind of two schools, some that are just primarily about the stretching, the exercise, the physical health. And then there's the whole spiritual component that some people kind of resonate towards. Where do you feel like you stand with that? Do you bring any of the spiritual concepts into it, or do you keep that separate?
No, I like to teach as authentically as I can and have a
Mm,
nice mix of both. I find that um, people will take what they need, they'll take what they want, what resonates with them, and they can leave the rest. I'm never approaching
Mhm.
my teachings as preaching, right? I'm really
right,
just trying to
Right.
share and trying to provide tools and resources that can empower and that can really make a difference, and I'm a big believer in also teaching from a place of embodiment, so teaching what I really truly know versus just something that I read and am now repeating. I
Mhm.
want the teachings to be really lived in and very authentic and, relevant as well, relevant to modern day life. So, of course, it's not for everyone, right? Like, not everyone is going to resonate with the spiritual philosophy and teachings that yoga has to offer. However, a lot of it is common sense that I think people will
Mhm.
resonate with, this idea of compassion and this idea of non-attachment, this idea that you are more than just your physical body and that you don't have to be completely absorbed and enthralled with the little voice inside your head. That's
Right,
very,
right.
like, that's a very practical teaching. And even though it's spiritual in its nature, I think it's probably applicable to everyone. And we could all probably learn to separate, what is the little voice of my ego versus my true self. That's very useful and practical. So those are the kinds of things that I like to teach in, yes, it's spiritual, but it's very relevant and it's very applicable to day-to-day life.
I love that. And you know what? The thing you said that stuck out the most is because I see this in you is that you always try to be authentic. And so anything you're bringing from a place of authenticity and inner truth, which I think is beautiful.
Yeah. And, that means that for some people, I'll be the best teacher for them. They'll resonate with that. And for others, I'm not going to be offering what they need. And that's okay too. There's about a million other teachers
Right.
out there,
Right.
There's no sense and no point in me trying to wear all hats and be all things. And I will have people, students who come to me and say, I wish you did more of X, or I wish you did less of Y, or, they'll have feedback, like they want me to be something a little bit different than what I am. And unfortunately, I'm just not really willing to do that. Like I feel most comfortable just being who I am, teaching the way I teach, practicing the way I practice. And, I've always from day one felt very confident that it'll be great and perfect for some people and wrong for others. And that's okay. That's not a problem that needs to be solved. That's a great thing. It empowers other people to then go and seek out the right teacher for them. I'm not meant to be everyone's teacher. That's never been something that I've been after. And I find the more you try to really please people and really cater to a larger and larger audience, the easier it is to kind of lose yourself and lose what made you special to begin with. That is kind of a challenge with a larger audience and growing. You have to really be steadfast in your authenticity, because otherwise you end up wanting to be swayed by the masses, and that's definitely been something I've had to be very clear on in recent years as my channel has grown so much.
Speaking of your channel growing so much, I'm thinking of the fact that as a father, as a parent, um, I can only imagine the beauty of your family seeing you fly and grow and evolve, and what example that is giving to that beautiful gift that you're giving your children. Um, let's do a little quick shout out. So I know you have a beautiful family. I know you have children. Can you tell us a little bit about them, what their names are, and that
Well,
kind of thing?
well, I have furry children. I don't have human children. But you know what? My dog, my horse, my 2 cats, they're so proud of me. They're happy that, I'm able to give them a lovely lifestyle. So, yeah, no, my husband and I do not have children. So
Oh!
no kids.
Not yet, not yet.
Yeah. But it has been funny watching like my parents and the rest of my family, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, things like that. At first they were like, "You're doing what now?" Like being on YouTube, like it took a long time for people's heads to be wrapped around, like especially when I'm like, I'm quitting my government job and I'm doing this. They're like, "But how are you making money?"
Right.
Making money online is very foreign. They it took a while for people to understand that, yeah, don't worry, like you can make money on YouTube, and don't worry, I have, streams of income. I'm okay. I'm not throwing it all away and just, yeah. But that's been really funny. But no, they've all been very, very supportive and very encouraging.
Do you pinch yourself still when you look at the number of subscribers you have?
In a way, something that is a little strange that has happened to me with numbers. I felt like the biggest high I've ever gotten from like, oh my gosh, my subscriber count is when I reached 100,000 subscribers. That felt so earth shattering, and
Wow.
it was such a mindset shift. Like that's really when I
Mhm.
realized like, whoa, there's a lot of people out in the world.
Right. Right.
I guess it is possible for me to do something with this and to continue growing it. And obviously, reaching 1 million, 2 million was phenomenal and so proud and so happy. But also, in a way, those numbers are so big that it's very hard to wrap your head around. It's
Yeah.
a little bit
Mhm.
difficult to conceptualize and
Yeah.
to understand, especially because at the end of the day, nothing has really changed for me. It's still just me in my room with a camera. It's not, I don't see 2 million people. 2 million people look at me, but I don't see anyone. So
Right, right. And
so it's hard to understand and wrap my head around. It doesn't totally feel real.
wow. Yeah, I think that sometimes people don't get that part of it, right? Where it's like, oh, it's 2 million people and da 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 da. And they think about you and like, oh, well, you're like Kim Kardashian or some other like celebrity, and that the paparazzi are like following you around and that kind of thing. And it's like, no, it's not like that at
It's
all,
definitely not.
Listen, we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk with Kassandra about what's next. What's next on the horizon for you? So let's take a quick break and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity.
You can find all the Satana products at our Go shop on Soulivity at go.soulivity.com now. Shop for beauty products, skincare, hair care. It is all there at the Go shop. Go shop Soulivity.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity with our very special guest, Kassandra Reinhardt of Yoga with Kassandra. Kassandra, what is next? What is next for you on the horizon? I mean, you're always doing so much, and we appreciate it. But what's next for you?
Yeah, I am usually doing a lot. I'm doing, I think, a little bit less this year. Last year I had a lot of like product launches, the new book, my cards, a journal came out. So it was
Mhm.
a really busy time. And I also was working on this 30-day challenge. So it feels like I've really been working hard over the past 6 months for this April challenge. Now it's going underway. So most of my attention, obviously, this month is still focusing on that. And then beyond the year, it's like I haven't really thought further. I'm like, yeah, what am I doing in May and June and July? So for sure, I'm just going back to my regular scheduled programming with YouTube, continuing to do that. But something I have been toying around and playing in the back of my mind that I'm hoping maybe I could launch this year, if not, bright and early, maybe January of 2024, as I do kind of want to get a seasonal podcast put together. I don't know
Mhm.
if it'll be like a YouTube videos or if it'll strictly be audio, but I am kind of in a place where I'm wanting to share something other than yoga or like
Mhm.
uh, in addition to yoga. So this Life with Kassandra podcast has been floating in my mind. So now I'm just in the planning stages. I've written out a little bit of like my season 1, 10 episodes, what I
Mhm.
think I want to cover and stuff. But
Aw.
as I'm sure you can understand, that takes a long time from conception to execution. So
Oh yeah.
I don't really know when it's going to see the light of day. I'm at least going to be in the planning preparation stages for the next little while. So that's exciting. It's exciting to have something else to introduce and work on. I like having different opportunities to challenge myself, and because it feels like the YouTube thing, like obviously there's always room to grow, but I feel like I
Yes.
know what I'm doing now,
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
so I'm like, okay, what's
You
something
you
else?
kind of get to a point at which you feel like you've mastered this, right? You
In a
can,
way,
in a
yes.
way, right? You can always evolve it. There'll always be new things that you're going to bring, like this April series, right? That you're
Yes.
doing right now. But maybe there's that next itch where you're like, maybe I'll do this over here,
Exactly.
Sheila?
Well, I'm just thinking if you're done at the end of April into May, you should go to the Tulip Festival. You know?
Oh yeah.
But
We've had a
beyond that, I
very
don't have
long.
plans for you.
Oh yeah, no, we've had a very, very, very long winter. I think it's like it was like a record-breaking darkest winter in many, many years. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited about this warmer weather in spring. So I might work less so I can be outside more and just enjoy it.
And beyond that, I think that the idea of I just hear you as a creator, right? Like that creative energy is coming out. And I love hearing that you follow that passion into the next thing and always want to expand yourself. So I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. And honestly, what I've realized is I am someone who tends to just keep myself busy. And unfortunately, if I do that for too long, then I don't have any creativity left. If I just
Right.
stay stuck doing what I've been doing, even if it's working well, even if I am setting out to do what I want, and accomplishing things, quote unquote, and getting results. If I just do the same thing for too long, it becomes a little bit stagnant and stale. And then I'm overworked, and it's like you get overworked without being fulfilled in a way,
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah.
no creative juice left. So I do often have to take some breaks of doing less and doing nothing, and in order to figure out what I want the next thing to be.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I feel like, people may not realize how essential that is. So, because, you're saying you're very good, you know how to do it. You do the yoga every day. You kind of got the system down. But the thing is, it's the energy you bring to it that makes the
Mhm.
difference. And that's so in tune to you taking rest time and being creative to keep that frequency up when you're in the video. So I just want to honor you for doing that.
Thanks. Yeah, it can be hard sometimes to step away, but you got to do it. You got to do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I guess, Cassandra, my last question is for those out here that may be starting out in terms of like when you had the government job and you're doing this thing and then it starts to kind of mature and evolve and grow. What do you say to people who may be on the fence, right? Around like not necessarily taking a deep dive, right?
Yeah.
But like giving a piece of themselves to what may turn out to be something that they're really passionate about. What advice would you give them?
Oh my gosh, I have so much advice. I'm not the kind, some people will just say, just quit and start,
Right, right, right.
That's not me. That's
Yeah,
not
me
my
either. Not
advice.
me either.
I kept my day job for 3 whole years while I was growing yoga with Kassandra. And of course, those were very, very difficult years because it meant I was working, 60, 80, 90 hours a week. However, there is so much that time teaches you. First of all, it teaches you if you actually have grit. It
Mhm.
teaches you time management. It teaches you if you actually even enjoy this work that you think is going to be amazing and love.
Mhm.
Not everything ends up being what you thought it would be. So it's good to have that experience of really kind of working quite hard. I am a big believer in focusing on the journey rather than destination, in the sense that if you're not enjoying the day to day, when you're not having huge success and huge results, I don't think you're actually going to enjoy it magically once you actually get a huge audience and get the results and
Right.
are successful.
Right.
The joy doesn't come from the results. The joy comes from the execution. So you need to be enjoying it. Otherwise, I just don't think success is necessarily on the horizon. So I'm a big believer in keeping your day job. For me, the rule that I had set out for myself, or kind of like the benchmark that I was going by, I wanted to at least be matching, if not out earning my income, just so I had some kind of safety net there
Hmm.
before I would, leave and dedicate myself full time. Because then I knew if I'm able to earn just as much part time, then I'm confident that once I give this my full attention, I'll really be able to support myself and have safety that is important to me. It's not as important to everyone else. For me, it definitely,
Right.
definitely was. So that's a huge one. And another big philosophy that I've lived by in terms of like turning your passion into any kind of career, or, launching a business that you're really passionate about, is to, I've always wanted to get as big as I can while staying as small as possible. So a lot of people, I think, will get caught up in this advice of outsourcing and hiring a lot of people and having a lot of staff and, making their organization really big in the name of scaling. And that's just never worked for me. I think keep things so small and so manageable. Keep your overhead as low as you can, like only get the essentials. Do it yourself as much as possible for as long as possible, and be really strategic with the people that you invite on, because then once you go big, it's really hard to downsize and you then have to sustain that. So I'm really like a big advocate for people learning the skills themselves, doing the work as much as possible, figure out if you even enjoy this. you know it's going to be hard, but hopefully it's also going to be really fulfilling, and really you're going to learn so much from your time doing that, that then when you
Mm.
do cross that threshold of being able to do this full time and sharing your passion as your career, you'll be in such a better place. You'll have the tools that you need to really be confident in yourself as well, to know that you can succeed in this area because you've already been doing it. You've
Wow.
already been laying the groundwork. Those are like really the big philosophies for me, I would think. But of course, it's different for everyone.
Right. Cassandra, thank you so much for being here. I
Thank you so
mean,
much
Thank
for
you.
having me.
yeah. Would you come back again?
Sure, of course.
Yay! We have to do something together. We were talking about that offline, but we need to do something together because I feel a connection here brewing. You know, um, we've got your information on our chat where everybody you can learn more about Kassandra Reinhardt at her specific website, Yoga with Kassandra. Your books are there. The latest classes are there, right, Cassandra?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And y- again, I'm just so overjoyed that you came back and that you talk about what's going on with not just yoga with Cassandra, but yourself. I mean, again, I think that people need to understand that life is ever evolving, and that having people like you on this morning kind of shows them all the aspects of life and what is possible when they start following their heart. So thank you for being here again.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have some final thoughts, and then we'll have to end our show. But we'll be right back in just a second, everybody.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. And real quickly, Sheila, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just always enjoy being with Cassandra, and I love what she's doing. And like I said earlier in the show, the authenticity that she holds and the openness. I thought she gave a lot of good advice and also reminded people to follow their own path.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that you could not have said it better. Because I mean, again, I think that when we have people like Cassandra on, they remind all of us that, you know, when you're connected, when you're aware of yourself, and that you're like, you open that door and you're in that energetic flow, and
Right.
that, you stay at it. Yes, there might be challenges and that kind of thing, but you keep moving forward. We're running out of time because of course, the sweet time always goes by so fast. Sheila, you've got a couple of things that you want to talk about. Soul connection sessions.
Yes, we have the Soul Connection sessions with $44 off your first session if you use the code SOUL23. That's the special Soulivity discount. And in a session, we will work together and meet what you desire in order to be more connected with your own soul energy and with perhaps the souls of those who have passed over. It can be a typical spiritual reading, or I can lead you on a personalized meditation to help you connect directly.
Excellent, excellent. And just want to remind everybody too that later on today is another great episode of Consciously Awesome Living with Sheila Applegate at 12 noon. So you don't want to miss that. Also, we want to make sure that, listen, we want you to keep in contact with us. So please remember to follow us on social media and join our mailing list by visiting our This Morning Soulivity landing page at soulivity.com/this-morning for more information. Wow, there's always so much going on, Sheila. I
There
mean, my
is.
goodness. Listen, on behalf of all of us here, I want to say thank you again for joining us for another fantastic episode of This Morning with Soulivity. We hope that you come back and join us every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our live broadcast. Or you can listen every Thursday and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific on KMET 1490 AM for all of you out on the West Coast. Man, Sheila, parting is such sweet sorrow.
You make me do this every time, but
I
I'll see you
know,
tomorrow.
I know.
I can't not rhyme that.
It's like, I'm so forced. I must rhyme. Listen, on behalf of everybody, listen, until next time, keep having real conversations that empower with passion and purpose, and keep on creating that best life today, that high quality life of great things in your life. So we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.